Chosen one, the pendulum of fate has swung, and this is the moment. A moment unfolding with the precise, undeniable weight of divine justice. Picture this. Someone, right now, is unraveling at the seams in the sterile confines of a lawyer's office. Years of carefully constructed lies are crumbling as the fraudulent paperwork concerning an estate, a lifetime of savings, is laid bare. They never suspected it, the architects of deception, blinded by their greed. The rehearsed lines, the practiced tears, they fall flat, hollow and unconvincing. And then, the true bombshell detonates. A second will exists pristine and irrefutable, a legitimate document, properly filed, legally sealed, and spiritually fortified. And chosen one, your name and yours alone, reigns supreme upon it. The person currently experiencing this agonizing unraveling has been living a fabrication. They willingly stepped into the role of caregiver, orchestrating a grand performance of self-sacrifice. They lamented endlessly to anyone who would listen about the burden, the renunciations, the supposed nobility of their actions. But behind closed doors in the shadowed corners of trust they were stealing. The beloved watch your grandparents wore every single day, a tangible link to their very existence, gone, vanished into the murky depths of a pawn shop for a pittance. The pearl earrings, cherished for decades, composed of genuine freshwater pearls, inexplicably disappeared, likely adorning someone else's jewelry box or already converted into cold, hard cash. But the pilfering didn't stop at mere heirlooms. It burrowed deeper, festering within the financial arteries of your grandparents' lives. This person had unfettered access to bank accounts, and with audacious impunity, they wrote checks for personal indulgence, transferred funds into hidden accounts, siphoned money month after month. And here's where their avarice reached its zenith. They used that stolen wealth to launch businesses, to invest in real estate, to finance a lifestyle they never earned through honest labor. They erected an empire upon the foundation of your grandparents' life savings, all while those same grandparents were languishing in neglect and mistreatment within their own home. This wasn't the act of a lone wolf. It was a family enterprise, a coordinated conspiracy orchestrated by one entire side of your bloodline. Secret meetings were convened, hushed discussions held. The division of anticipated assets was meticulously planned, agreements forged in the darkness to maintain silence about each act of theft. The scheme was collectively shielded, a fortress of deceit built to withstand scrutiny. And when your grandparents desperately needed genuine care, heartfelt compassion, and unconditional love, these individuals were nowhere to be found, their focus utterly consumed by plotting how to spend money that was never theirs to begin with. But your grandparents, in their wisdom, documented everything. Every missing item, every unauthorized withdrawal, every piece of jewelry that mysteriously vanished. Records were meticulously kept, photographs taken, trusted friends confided in about the existence of these records and their location. Because your grandparents knew with unwavering certainty that one day, someone would be held accountable for it all. And that day has arrived. It is today, this very moment, unfolding in that sterile office where fraud is being ruthlessly exposed, where thieves are being cornered with no escape route save confession or perjury. Either path leads to utter ruin. These individuals didn't merely rely on theft and forgery. Their approach delved into the spiritual realm, a chilling testament to their desperation. Groups assembled, engaging in dark rituals. Your name was chanted, twisted into malevolent incantations. Work was done with fire, with heat, with elements that should have remained untouched. Entities were invoked, pacts made with forces that inherently oppose your well-being. Attempts were made to bind your progress, to stifle your blessings, to dim the radiant light that has always made certain individuals profoundly uncomfortable in your presence. Consider the implications of that. Multiple people, united in darkness, deemed it necessary to try to extinguish the light of a single individual walking in truth. An entire operation was required, a conspiracy fueled by envy and fear, focused solely on keeping you down. And chosen one, do you know what that reveals? You are a threat to kingdoms constructed on lies. You are a danger to illegitimate power. You possess something so potent, so divinely ordained, that mobilizing every available force to stand against you was deemed essential. And yet, they still failed. Every hex ricocheted back, every ritual backfired, every curse was returned to its sender because you cannot manipulate what heaven has already decreed. You cannot bind someone protected by forces far greater than anything accessible through dark practices. Time was squandered, energy dissipated, connections forged with entities now demanding recompense for services that yielded nothing. Traps lie dormant within agreements made in desperation. And the same spiritual warfare waged against you is now consuming them from the inside out. The struggles you endured, the obstacles that seemed insurmountable, the delays that tested your patience, those weren't evidence of curses taking hold. Those were preparations. Each attack strengthened you. Each spiritual battle heightened your awareness. Every attempt to break you only forged you into something unbreakable. Your enemies, in their misguided efforts, honed their own destruction. They sharpened the very weapon that is now slicing through their elaborate schemes. And the realization is just beginning to dawn as the lawyer meticulously explains the utter and complete loss of their game. Back to that office. The lawyer is now interrogating, probing with sharp, precise questions. Where did this money go? Who authorized these transfers? Documentation for these withdrawals must be provided. And the person sitting there is sweating, acutely aware of the impending storm. Audits are coming. Investigations are looming. Forensic accountants are preparing to meticulously dissect every transaction with unwavering professional precision. When you engage in systematic theft over time, you inevitably leave a trail, a glaring, undeniable path of incriminating evidence. They believed they were clever, that mixing personal expenses with legitimate caregiver costs would effectively conceal their deceit. They believed no one would ever scrutinize their actions. They believed that once your grandparents were gone, the accounts would simply be closed and distributed, and no uncomfortable questions would ever be asked. But every single one of their beliefs was tragically wrong because your grandparents, with foresight and wisdom, established safeguards, triggers designed to activate upon their passing. They ensured that mandatory reviews would be conducted, that professionals skilled at identifying financial abuse would meticulously examine every detail. And those professionals are uncovering everything. Business ventures launched with unauthorized transfers, real estate purchases made with funds belonging to another, investments originating from accounts they had no right to access. The opulent lifestyle they've been flaunting is about to be meticulously calculated down to the last penny. And complete restitution is required, every single cent, plus interest, plus penalties, plus the exorbitant legal fees that will accumulate from fighting a battle they cannot win. But here is where divine orchestration manifests in its most exquisite form. Every dollar that must be returned flows directly to you. The life savings that were stolen, the investments shrewdly made with your grandparents' money, the appreciation on properties purchased with funds that should have been diligently protected. All of it is returning, cascading back to one place. The person your grandparents genuinely chose, the one who was always destined to receive this inheritance. The chosen one who is on the cusp of a financial transformation that will redefine everything. If you felt the resonance of truth within these words, amplify this message so that more chosen ones like you can witness it. The person in that office presented documents for which good money was paid. Shady channels were exploited to forge signatures. Individuals were procured who claimed to possess the ability to create paperwork so convincing it would withstand any inspection. Confidence was high. Every angle appeared covered. Certainty reigned supreme. But the lawyer, with a single discerning glance, detected anomalies. The handwriting analysis didn't match. The notary seal was suspect. The witness signatures belonged to individuals who lacked the legal authority to witness such a document. The dates contradicted medical records documenting your grandparents' cognitive state. Every layer of this crude forgery crumbled under basic professional scrutiny. This wasn't sophisticated fraud. It was sloppy, desperate, and blatantly obvious fraud committed by individuals who drastically underestimated the power of truth to expose lies. And while the fabricated paperwork was being dismantled, the authentic will was being authenticated. The one your grandparents legally filed, complete with proper witnesses, legitimate notarization, and clear documentation of their sound mind and body at the time of signing. The one that unequivocally designates you as the primary beneficiary of everything they built over a lifetime. Life savings, real estate, investments, assets, all earmarked for one individual, one your grandparents knew would honor their legacy and utilize it responsibly. The lawyer, as he explains all of this, is witnessing someone's world disintegrate in real time. And nothing can be done to stop it. No argument can be convincingly made. No excuse will hold water. No manipulation can alter what is legally documented and properly filed. The trap has sprung. The scheme has irrevocably failed. The truth stands exposed in the harsh glare of fluorescent office lighting for everyone to see. And chosen one, while minds are fracturing, you are about to inherit everything your grandparents meticulously protected for you. Here's what will transpire next. That person will leave the office in a state of shock, reeling from the catastrophic turn of events. Frantic calls will be made to the co-conspirators, the siblings, the cousins, the family members who all banked on this scheme succeeding. And when the devastating news breaks that everything has imploded, that the fraud has been exposed, and that severe consequences are looming for everyone involved, watch how swiftly that unified front crumbles. Conspiracies thrive only when everyone is profiting. The instant consequences arise, it becomes every person for themselves. The finger-pointing will commence immediately. Whose idea was this? Who guaranteed the forged documents would work? Who had access to the accounts? Who took what? Who is accountable for which part of the scheme? The unity that existed in darkness will evaporate the moment light exposes everything. And it will escalate into a far messier situation because this extends beyond mere inheritance fraud. These individuals have other secrets to conceal. Businesses built on shaky foundations, tax liabilities that have been cleverly avoided, other legal entanglements they believed were safely buried. When investigators begin scrutinizing this family, when forensic accountants start tracing the money, everything will be unearthed. This inheritance case is the thread that will unravel their entire web of deception over time. Some will attempt to cooperate with authorities to mitigate their personal liability. Some will betray others, throwing them under the bus in a desperate attempt to save themselves. Some will feign ignorance, claiming pressure or manipulation or a lack of comprehension regarding what was happening. The family that collaborated to exploit your grandparents is about to descend into a cannibalistic frenzy, each member desperately trying to escape the consequences. And chosen one, you will have the privilege of witnessing from a safe distance as divine justice metes out what you never had to fight for yourself. The battle was won before you even knew a war was raging. Let me illuminate the brilliance of your grandparents' strategy. They didn't merely react to being mistreated. They didn't simply seethe with anger over being robbed. They strategized, they meticulously planned, they orchestrated a scenario where the truth would inevitably expose itself at precisely the right moment. Your grandparents were playing chess while everyone else was playing checkers. And they did it all because they understood something profound about you. They foresaw that you needed time to mature, to develop spiritually, to cultivate the wisdom and discernment required to handle significant resources responsibly. They knew that if this inheritance had come to you before you were ready, it might have diverted you from becoming the person you were destined to be. So, everything was perfectly timed. They ensured that the fraud would be exposed when you were strong enough, aware enough, and prepared enough to receive what had been diligently protected. Your grandparents recognized something within you that others failed to see. They saw past your youth, your struggles, or whatever limited perspective others held. They saw your calling, your radiant light. They understood that you were part of a lineage of chosen ones that courses through your bloodline. They knew that you were meant to take what was started and exponentially multiply it, not for selfish indulgence, but for service, for healing, for assisting others who have been overlooked, abused, and exploited, just as they were. And from the other side, your grandparents remain with you, having made the conscious choice to stay close, to be an integral part of your spiritual team, to guide, protect, and celebrate every victory you achieve. They are watching this unfold right now, witnessing their meticulously crafted plans working flawlessly. They are watching you step into an inheritance that is about to transform not only your life but the lives of everyone you are destined to touch. And they are brimming with pride, so incredibly proud of who you have become and who you are becoming. Now comes the uncomfortable part for the thieves. The lawyer will inquire about specific items, the watch, the pearls, the family heirlooms that were documented as being in the home. And the person responsible for taking them will be compelled to produce them or provide compensation for their value. And these aren't insignificant items. They are pieces with real worth, sentimental value that translates into substantial financial value. Some of these items were already sold, bartered for cash to support extravagant lifestyles, given away carelessly, lost through negligence, it doesn't matter. No justification existed for taking them in the first place. And now, meticulous accounting for every piece is mandated. The watch worn for decades, the jewelry passed down through generations, everything that vanished while caregiving was supposedly taking place is now a line item in a legal claim from which there is no escape. And this is where a profound sense of satisfaction arises because these heirlooms will not merely be replaced with cash equivalents. The investigation into their whereabouts may uncover other crimes, selling stolen property, fraudulent misrepresentation of ownership, tax evasion if income from selling items that belong to another was not reported. One theft leads to another discovery, which leads to another exposure. The web expands relentlessly, and the consequences multiply exponentially. Chosen one, some of these items might even be recovered, returned to you as part of the estate settlement. Imagine holding the watch your grandparent wore every day, the one that was stolen, sold, and is now being restored to you. The weight of that moment, the tangible connection to your lineage, the undeniable proof that what was taken from those who loved you is being restored to the one chosen. That isn't mere justice. it's poetry. Let me be clear about what you are receiving. This isn't insignificant money. Your grandparents were strategic savers and astute investors. They embraced modest living to facilitate substantial wealth accumulation. What was accumulated over decades of discipline and sacrifice is about to be unleashed upon you. And it's more than you think, likely more than was ever revealed to anyone because protection was essential from precisely the type of individuals who are now unraveling in legal offices. This inheritance is house buying money, business starting money, never worrying about basic needs again money. But more importantly, it's calling funding money. Your grandparents didn't save this so you could simply be comfortable. They saved it so you could be dangerous to systems of abuse, dangerous to injustice, dangerous to the darkness that has been attempting to keep you confined. Resources have been provided to fulfill a mission that requires them. For some of you, that mission involves creating programs for the elderly, protecting vulnerable individuals from the very kind of exploitation your grandparents endured. For others, it's funding creative work that heals, building ministries that serve, starting foundations that address needs others neglect. Whatever your specific calling may be, these resources are intended to launch it. Your grandparents saw your heart for service, recognized your compassion, and ensured you would have the means to operate at your full potential. This is generational wealth with spiritual purpose, resources aligning with readiness, provision synchronized with divine timing. And chosen one, when this money lands in your account, when the property is deeded, when the assets are transferred, you aren't just receiving an inheritance. You're receiving a commission, a mandate from your grandparents to accomplish what couldn't be done before, to help those who couldn't be helped before, to build what couldn't be built before. You are carrying their legacy forward in a way that exponentially amplifies their impact. Consequences are non-negotiable. The most skilled lawyers can be hired, every legal maneuver attempted. Assets can be concealed, bankruptcy declared, or fleeing to another state can occur. None of it will succeed because fraud has teeth, and the justice system, when it finally catches up to systematic financial abuse of the elderly, doesn't play games. Restitution of every penny stolen is required, and liquidation of assets to repay what is owed must happen. That business launched with your grandparents' money might have to be sold, that property purchased might have to be relinquished, and that lifestyle being flaunted is about to collapse completely. And these debts cannot be discharged in bankruptcy because fraud-based debts survive bankruptcy proceedings. Being trapped with self-inflicted consequences from which there is no escape is the new reality. But it's not just financial. Reputations are about to be shattered. When word spreads about what was done, when people understand the abuse and theft of elderly family members occurred, the social consequences will be devastating. Professional relationships will dissolve, community standing will evaporate. People will perceive these individuals differently, speak to them differently. Trust will be irrevocably lost. Public exposure of character is imminent. And spiritually, they are in the worst predicament of all. Those entities with whom deals were made to curse you are still demanding payment. The darkness they embraced doesn't simply release them when things don't go as planned. They are trapped in spiritual agreements that are now consuming them from the inside out. The very forces they believed would grant them power are now extracting a cost they never factored in. They sold out for nothing and lost everything in the process. The beauty of divine justice is that you never had to lift a finger in revenge. You never had to plot retaliation, never had to scheme about how to expose what was happening. You simply had to continue walking your path, cultivating your character, growing spiritually, and becoming the person you were meant to be. And while you were engaged in that inner work, your grandparents had already handled everything on the legal front. The traps were already set, the evidence already compiled, the protection already in place. All you had to do was be ready to receive when the time came. And that office where everything is unraveling for those who committed fraud is the same office where victory is being presented to you on a silver platter. You didn't have to fight for it in court yourself, didn't have to hire investigators, didn't have to become consumed with proving your case. Your grandparents did all of that work before they even passed away, ensuring that when their time came to transition, everything was so airtight that no amount of manipulation could undo it. That is the level of love and foresight operating on your behalf. Look, you already know the attacks weren't random. And if you're paying attention, you can feel it. Their walls are closing in. So, let's talk about what we're doing about it. That's why I built Destiny Engine. It generates personalized sequences that help you rewire betrayal into transcendence, turn isolation into sacred power, and transform their downfall into your rise. We are using the Dark Elite's own weapons against them, taking their declassified consciousness technology, that programmed competition and scarcity, and repurposing it to serve cooperative intelligence. The beauty is you don't even have to lift a finger. You put on the headphones, press play, and your subconscious is rewired while your enemies collapse under the weight of their own lies. This is why I created it in the beginning. So everything they did to break you becomes fuel for your purpose. The collective upgrade is underway. Start your Destiny Engine for $1 today and watch divine justice accelerate in your life. Link in the description. Consider the irony of the fraudster's predicament. These individuals invested so much energy in trying to suppress you spiritually, so much time performing rituals and making dark agreements, so much effort in coordinating their schemes and protecting each other's crimes. And in the end, none of it mattered because while your grandparents were alive, legal documents were being executed that would override every single attempt to steal what was rightfully yours. The spiritual warfare was merely a distraction. The real battle had already been won in that lawyer's office before the fraudsters even realized a war was underway. Now, imagine the conversations currently happening among those family members. The panic, the blame, the accusations flying back and forth, the desperate attempts to minimize the damage. The chilling realization that everything they thought was secure is, in fact, crumbling. The understanding that not only are they not receiving what they expected, but they are also being forced to return what they already stole. That is a unique form of devastation, the kind that arises from constructing your entire future on a foundation of lies only to witness that foundation dissolve beneath you. And chosen one, you must understand something crucial about the timing of all of this. The reason the fraud is being exposed now, the reason you are receiving this inheritance now, is because you are finally ready for it, and not ready in the sense that you have achieved some perfect state, but ready in the sense that you have matured enough to handle the responsibility, grown enough to not allow it to corrupt you, and cultivated enough wisdom to steward it properly. Your grandparents were waiting for this version of you, the version that has endured enough to appreciate what is being given and is strong enough to utilize it wisely. This may sting for a moment, so brace yourself. Some of the people involved in this conspiracy against you are individuals you actually liked, perhaps a cousin who always seemed fun, or a relative who was kind to you at family gatherings, or someone you believed was different from the others. But involvement occurred, knowledge of what was happening to your grandparents existed, participation in the theft happened, presence at those dark rituals targeting you occurred, and silence was maintained. When the full scope of this exposure unfolds, when you see the list of everyone who was implicated, names will shock you, names will wound you, people you would have defended if someone had warned you about their actions against you. But chosen one, this revelation is essential. You cannot build your future on relationships with individuals who were secretly undermining your foundation. You cannot move forward in your purpose while remaining connected to those who are actively working to impede your progress. Some will reach out when the realization dawns that the inheritance is yours. Sudden remembrances of how much they care about you will surface. Emergencies requiring financial assistance will conveniently arise. Appeals to your compassion will be made, and reminders of cherished memories will flood in. Attempts to make you feel guilty for receiving what was always meant for you will occur, and you must be prepared to see through it all, to recognize manipulation even when it's veiled in familiarity, to protect what your grandparents protected from those who have proven themselves untrustworthy. The exposure is a gift. It reveals people's true nature when masks fall away, exposes character under duress, and demonstrates who operates with integrity and who does not. And while it may initially feel like a loss, it's actually clearing space in your life for relationships built on truth instead of tolerance, for connections based on genuine love instead of manufactured family obligations, and for a circle that celebrates your victories instead of secretly working to sabotage them. Back to that office where someone is losing their mind, where fraud is being exposed, where paperwork intended to enrich thieves is instead revealing crimes, where your name is about to echo through the halls as the sole heir to the empire your grandparents painstakingly built from the ground up. This is the fulcrum, the pivotal instant where the trajectory of lives is irrevocably altered. Not just yours, not just theirs, but for everyone whose gaze is fixed upon this unfolding drama of divine justice playing out in real time. But allow me to keep you suspended in the anticipation of this moment a little longer. Let's linger in that lawyer's office, because the minutiae here matter. They are the brushstrokes that paint a portrait of your grandparents' calculated foresight. That seasoned attorney, sitting across from the family member who had already tasted the sweetness of victory, isn't merely rejecting documents with capricious abandon. A methodical explanation is accompanying each rejection, dissecting precisely where each piece of the elaborate fraud crumbles. The notary whose official seal graces the counterfeit will had conveniently vanished, relocating out of state long before the document's supposed date of creation. The witnesses who swore they watched your grandparents affix their signatures were, beyond any shadow of a doubt, demonstrably elsewhere. One was grieving at a funeral clear across the country that very day. The other, sadly, had already departed this earth. Your power-hungry family member is forced to witness each flimsy excuse evaporate like morning mist, each carefully constructed explanation implode under the weight of scrutiny, each layer of painstakingly crafted lies peeled back to reveal the festering rot beneath. And the lawyer, a seasoned veteran of such battles, is meticulously documenting everything, because this is no longer just a squabble over an inheritance. This has metastasized into evidence of criminal activity, a brazen act of fraud that demands the attention of law enforcement. This is the point where civil grievances morph into full-blown criminal investigations. And, chosen one, your relative sitting rigidly in that chair knows it. You can see the dawning realization reflected in eyes that dart nervously towards the door, searching for escape. You hear it in the ever-shifting stories, the desperate attempts to rewrite reality. You sense it in the frantic calculations already taking place, the frantic assessment of blame and the desperate search for a scapegoat when the whole edifice comes crashing down. The lawyer, with the practiced air of someone who's seen the charade play out countless times, pulls out another folder, thicker than the last. This one contains the real will, the one your grandparents meticulously executed with all the proper legal safeguards in place. But there's something else nestled within that folder, something far more potent. Letters penned in your grandparents' own hand, their very essence captured on the page, explaining with unvarnished honesty the rationale behind their decisions, detailing the cruel treatment they endured at the hands of certain family members, chronicling the mysterious disappearance of precious items from their home, listing, with meticulous accuracy, the unauthorized financial transactions they noticed but were powerless to stop, the result of bullying and coercion surrounding the signing over of power of attorney under false pretenses. Your grandparents, bless their foresight, documented everything. They created a paper trail that reads like a prosecutor's dream case, a roadmap to conviction. And to ensure its veracity, they had these documents witnessed by individuals outside the tangled web of family dynamics. The family doctor provided a sworn affidavit attesting to their unwavering mental acuity. The banker furnished irrefutable statements detailing the unusual activity in their accounts. Even the neighbors stepped forward, offering testimony about who came and went from the house and the suspicious activities they observed. Your grandparents built a veritable fortress of evidence around the truth, rendering it impossible for anyone to claim confusion, diminished capacity, or lack of understanding. They established, beyond any reasonable doubt, that knowledge existed about exactly what was happening and precisely who they intended to receive their legacy. The family member in that office, now sweating profusely, is presented with a stark choice. Cooperate fully with the investigation, provide verifiable information about the whereabouts of the stolen items, return what can be salvaged, and make restitution for what is irretrievable, or face the full, unmitigated force of prosecution, with no leniency and no plea bargains offered. Watch, chosen one, as pride engages in a desperate battle with the primal instinct for survival. Watch as someone who swaggered in with an air of invincibility is now frantically calculating whether their co-conspirators will sacrifice them to save their own skins. Watch as the greed that once united them now becomes the very force that will tear them apart. But there's another, equally vital dimension to this scene unfolding in that sterile office. The lawyer handling this case didn't stumble into this line of work by accident. Specialization in elder abuse cases is a deliberate choice. This pattern of exploitation is chillingly familiar. The telltale signs of financial predation are instantly recognizable. The insidious methods by which predators operate within families are thoroughly understood. And, more importantly, it's taken personally. This is not just a job. It's a mission, a calling. Too many vulnerable elderly individuals have been victimized by the very family members who should have been their protectors. Too many estates have been plundered by individuals who contributed nothing but showed up expecting everything. A zero-tolerance policy reigns supreme. So, when your family member attempts to negotiate, to minimize their culpability, to feign a misunderstanding, the lawyer shuts it down with swift and decisive finality. There is no misunderstanding. There is fraud, plain and simple. There is theft, brazen and unforgivable. There is abuse, cruel and calculated. And there will be consequences, far-reaching and inescapable. Consequences that will be etched into public records for all to see. Consequences that will jeopardize professional licenses, making it difficult to secure loans, pass background checks, or maintain crucial business relationships. Consequences that will follow them for the rest of their lives. Your grandparents chose this lawyer with meticulous care. Research was conducted, reputations were scrutinized. They found someone who would fight relentlessly for their wishes, even after they were gone. Someone who would not be cowed by family drama or manipulative tactics. Someone who understood that estate planning is about more than just distributing assets. It's about ensuring that the people you love are protected and the people who harmed you are held accountable. And this lawyer is executing that plan flawlessly, with the precision and unwavering resolve of a seasoned warrior. Let me paint a picture for you of what happens when you discover that the inheritance is yours. Because this is not information that is delivered in a single, overwhelming download. First, you might receive a call from the lawyer's office, an invitation to come in for a meeting. Formality permeates the communication, a sense of restrained professionalism. Little is revealed over the phone, because estate matters are treated with the utmost confidentiality until the proper legal procedures have been followed. So, you arrive at this office, your mind swirling with a mixture of anticipation and uncertainty. Maybe you know your grandparents have passed away. Maybe you've been deliberately kept in the dark about what happened afterward. Maybe you've been silently wondering why no one has bothered to contact you. The lawyer sits you down and begins to lay out the situation with careful precision. Your grandparents left a will, a legitimate, legally sound will, and you are named as the primary beneficiary. But there has been a complication, a wrench thrown into the gears. Another family member, blinded by greed, submitted fraudulent paperwork in a desperate attempt to claim the estate for themselves. And now, inevitably, there is going to be an investigation, protracted legal proceedings, and undoubtedly a messy eruption of family drama. Are you prepared for that? Are you ready to stand your ground? Even when relatives start bombarding you with sob stories and venomous accusations? Because this inheritance comes with a fight, a battle you didn't ask for but will have to be willing to endure. This chosen one is the moment when you truly grasp the depth of your grandparents' love for you. They could have chosen the easy path, dividing everything equally among multiple people to avoid conflict, to maintain a false sense of harmony. But they didn't. They made a deliberate, unequivocal choice. Your name was placed on everything, knowing full well it would ignite a firestorm of resentment, knowing the greedy ones would be consumed by fury, knowing there would be attempts to overturn their wishes. And it was done anyway because their belief in you was stronger than their fear of conflict. Their trust in your character was stronger than their desire for a false peace with people who never treated them with genuine love and respect. This is your moment. This is your vindication. This is your commissioning, not to bask in comfortable complacency, but to be a force of nature, dangerous to every system of abuse, exploitation, and darkness that operates in the shadows. Equipped, resourced, and backed by generational love and divine justice, you are ready to write the next chapter of a legacy that your grandparents started and entrusted you to continue. The very office where their legacy was contested is the same office where your inheritance was secured. And that, my friend, is precisely how your grandparents planned it. The end of their scheme, the beginning of your destiny. Divine justice served perfectly, and you, standing ready to receive everything that was always meant to be yours.